There, I've seen to the pleasantries. Are you all satisfied now?
Now what the fuck do you want? What up, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. I'm Nate, and joining me as always, joining you as well since you're listening, my co-host and brother, Zach.
Namaste. Peace be with you. I'm very zen today.
I guess so.
Today's been a good day. I've had a great day. Hope you've had a good day, listener. If you're joining us for the very first time, then welcome. We're pretty rude here. We're crass, but we also like to talk about Game of Thrones because there's some cool shit going on in there.
And we're full spoilers.
People
so
get
ruin
fucked.
And killed.
But I like the fucking.
All right.
I really don't,
No,
but
whatever.
If you joined us last episode, we were reading Ned 15.
Ned's final chapter.
Ned's last chapter.
Dun, 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 dun.
And so Ned was stuck down in some dank old cells and was doing some tripping out on some crazy leg pain, possibly infection, and just hunger and thirst.
And all of it combined.
Darkness and loneliness.
Yeah, doing some dreaming, some hallucinating.
Yeah,
just
we got
some shit.
a very, very interesting description of the Attorney of Harrenhal, which is the first time...
Rhaegar.
Yeah, first time in the book-wise, obviously full spoiler reread, that the Attorney of Harrenhal is described to us in full as to what
detail,
actually happened, and so we'll get a lot more on that as we progress through.
So then he got a visit from our wonderful friend Varys.
Our favorite neighborhood spider.
Yeah, and we had a bit of a debate there.
We did. And then we took it to Twitter.
And they were on my side.
I mean, there are no winners here, folks, because we were just trying to... I didn't claim I knew. I was asking... No, it's fine. I don't care. I would tend to agree that Varys has a wider... And I phrased it wrong on Twitter, and I'm upset about that, but that's okay. But no, I agree that Varys has a much wider grasp of what's happening in the world. My question was more, who has the upper hand between the two?
Yeah.
And can that really even be answered? Who knows? But... Thank you to everyone who did respond on Twitter. We had a lot of fun. It was entertaining me at work, and so I had a lot of fun doing that.
So this week, this episode, we are reading Catelyn 9. Kitty cat.
So before we do jump in, I thought there was some interesting connection in the placement of chapters here, where last chapter we had Ned 15, Ned's last chapter. And Ned is trapped. He's feeling trapped on just about every single level. He failed his king, his best friend. He lied to him. He got him killed by the lies. He feels trapped by giving mercy to Cersei Lannister and allowing her to take control of the situation. He's literally trapped in a cell. He asks Varys to free him, and Varys basically tells him, I am your puppet master. I will send your letter or not based on my own designs, and freeing you is not in my own designs because it would put me in the crosshairs. So there's this theme of feeling trapped, of not being able to make choices. And I just thought it was very interesting that Ned's last chapter is before this one of Catelyn's, where Catelyn is almost... and Catelyn's strength is what I really like about her, because she always continues to push herself to continue forward. I have to do this. I have to be strong. It's a lot of what Sansa thinks and stuff like that. And so this chapter, I think, starts a lot of what people hate about Catelyn, which is that feeling of trapped, where every choice, every action, every thought she has is questioning what's happening around her. And actually, Julian, who wrote into us, mentioned it in his email as well, that she bases, and it's really here that it starts, she starts basing so many of her decisions not on herself and Robb and where they are, but on people around her. Her father, Lord Hoster Tully, Tywin Lannister and his movements, Eddard Stark being stuck there. Everything becomes reactionary for Cat at this point, and it's a different sort of cell that she's in, and so I've never picked up on it before, but Cat is in her own way trapped in this reactionary position. She needs to be strong and push through because Ned's in a cell, so she's sort of the next in head to get their boy ready,
Yeah.
And so it's all reactionary for her at this point, because to be rash is to rush into death and kill her son and their last hope to free Ned Stark. So I thought that was an interesting thing to point out before we jump in. But
sweet. So I also, the more literal sense that, because Kat starts comparing Robb once again to Ned and how similar he truly is now in his prime. And so I think it's cool that we were seeing Ned back at the tourney in Harrenhal when he was a younger kid, when he was in his prime, when he was asleep, and now we're seeing that.
Yeah, no, that's a good one too. Yeah, I didn't actually catch that.
But anyway,
yeah.
So Kat, we open this chapter, is headed towards the twins.
Yeah.
They're going to meet with the Freys.
As the northern host had made it further south, Catelyn's apprehension had grown. She masked her fears behind a stern face, yet they grew with every league they crossed.
So I only made one note on that whole chapter. The whole
Just
chapter.
one
Done.
note.
That's it.
Anxious.
One paragraph is that I like that it opens with her with this mask, and her face is stern and still. What else is still and stern?
And again, to tie it back, we did just get Ned tripping out in the dark with Robert's mask. Pulling away and revealing Littlefinger. Yeah, so there's a lot of this facial with the Stark family in general. It said her days were anxious, her nights were restless, and every raven that flew overhead made her clench her teeth, which I really like watching the Stark reactions to ravens now.
Yeah,
where
that's
essentially Darkwing's dark words, but that's essentially going to embody Bran here soon. And so the fact that she's looking up and clenching her teeth. So says she feared for her Lord Father and wondered at his ominous silence. She feared for her brother Edmure and prayed the gods watched over him if he should face the Kingslayer in battle. She feared for Ned and her girls and for the sweet sons she had left at Winterfell. Yet she decided she has to save her strength for Robb.
Basically, she decided she doesn't have the time or energy to waste worrying.
Nope.
She has to worry about the topic at hand.
And that's exactly what I was mentioning at this point. She says she must put aside thoughts of all the others.
And this is where she says Robb, who is taking after Ned so much, has begun meeting with the lords up at the front.
Well, she said before that, she says she must be a Stark for true now, like her son. And so she's...
So I did notice that she calls herself Catelyn Tully there.
Yeah.
She still calls herself Catelyn Tully, which she epitomizes the North.
Well, that's is...
Because she actively tries to epitomize the North.
Yeah.
And so she does so, and she does it well. Like, I don't think she's... But she still thinks of herself as a Tully in her head.
Yeah, which is, I mean, I don't...
Because we commented on, like, our first chapter, maybe our second. No, it would be, like, the fourth chapter of the book.
I think it's...
With Cersei announcing herself as Cersei Lannister and not Cersei Baratheon. The fact that she didn't take his name.
Yeah.
And it's still everyone, like, Catelyn does go by Cat
See,
Stark.
but with Cersei, obviously, it was her... That's Cersei's choice because she's Cersei. With Kat, and I think it's ironic, but I think it's more of the Jon Snow thing, where she doesn't think she's worthy of the Stark name.
Right,
she's not this hardened.
Well, and that's
cold,
it. I agree.
But she is.
But that's what's so
funny. She becomes fucking Stoneheart.
Is that she doesn't
is this
think...
hardened, cold woman. She can do this. She's a very fucking strong woman.
And that's what I was at the beginning. She epitomizes the North,
and
but
so
she just doesn't think
I think it's ironic that she thinks she must be a Stark for true now. Like, you have been. Like, you're absolutely a very strong leader of this Stark family. You've done well by these children, clearly. Like, they're all really capable, intelligent people.
And speaking of the Stark children.
And speaking of,
Robb is up at the front of the host, and he's always, every morning, he invites a lord, just like he does for dinner when he's at home. He invites a lord to ride with him so that he can confer, and he weighs their words against the words of the other lords, and he listens. And...
Yeah, he honored every man in turn, listening as his Lord Father had listened. He had learned so much from Ned, she thought, but has he learned enough?
So I think that all that, the way that she's praising him here, is going to be built up that much more at the end when we point out when she brings up the marriage.
Yeah. So we learn here that the Blackfish had taken 100 men and 100 swift horses and raced ahead to scout their way. and his riders' reports did absolutely little to reassure Catelyn. Lord Tywin's host was still many days to the south, but Lord Walder Frey, Lord of the Crossing, had gathered a force of near 4,000 men at his castles on the Green Fork.
This is that old bitch Frey.
That old bitch Frey, as
Motherfucker.
Julian so duly dubbed him.
Yes.
I'm so excited for this chapter to get our introduction of Walder fucking Frey.
Holy fuck.
So, late again, Catelyn murmured when she heard. It's the trident all over again, damn the man, she thought. Edmure had called the banners. By right, Walder should have joined his host at River Run, and yet here he sits, which fits with absolutely everything we've heard about Walder Frey.
What we know so far, what we know as a full spoiler reread, is that he's a motherfucking asshole, and so
He's an opportunist.
He is, man. He handles his business.
And so it says that Robb is actually kind of hopeful, and he thinks maybe Walder Frey means to join his forces to ours, and Cat immediately questions that. And it says that she had rode in front to join Robb and that day's companion of Robert Glover. And she says, expect nothing of Walder Frey and you will never be surprised. Which...
Right.
Ominous.
This first visit to the twins, when knowing that the Red Wedding is going to happen and being full aware of the next visit that you have here, Robb. That's it. And
is it the next? Because doesn't he come in?
I forget.
I forget.
But
Damn it all.
You know.
So yeah, Robb mentions that he's your Lord Father's Bannerman. You know, he wouldn't pull some shit. And Cat tells him that some men take their oaths more seriously than others. Lord Walder was always friendly with Casterly Rock, more friendly than my father would have liked. One of his sons is wed to Tywin's sister, and that would be Gemma.
Yeah. Gemma's a gem.
So Robert Glover asks if Catelyn thinks that he would betray them to the Lannister, and Cat truly doesn't know. She says he has an old man's caution and a young man's ambition, and he has never lacked for cunning. And Robb gets a little fucking petulant here. And demand.
So I like that, before you mention that, just using the word cunning to describe him, like...
Yeah.
You never really think about him that way until, like, she puts it into perspective. And he is.
Well, like, I 100% think, and I've actually always thought this isn't even a reread thing, but I've always thought that Walder Frey ups the gross of him when he's having guests intentionally. Like, that, yeah, he is this crotchety, gross piece of shit. Right. But when he's got guests, like when Catelyn comes to, he ups it because he knows.
He's doing a Pycelle.
Yeah, he's knows
putting on an act.
That her family's always shit on him. Like, he knows that the realm as a whole looks at him as this shitty little lord with, you know, he's just marrying young girls and busting out sons. But he kind of plays into it, too. And it's that's in its own self a kind of cunning. It's that this is what people expect me to be, so let me play into that and do the unexpected, which he does, because Catelyn pretty much for the most part thinks she's got the advantage on Walder Frey. She's got him pegged, you know. He's crotchety. We just need to take his insults and then he'll eventually he'll get to what he wants and we can give it to him.
And that's it. Technically she gets it here. But
yeah. We're doing air quotes. And so, yeah, Robb says that we must have the twins. There's no other way of cross. Yeah, you know this, mother.
Right.
And she says, yes, and so does Walder Frey. You can be sure of that. So they made camp that night, and it was Theon Greyjoy who returned with word from the Blackfish.
Yeah. And I didn't flip my page yet. So he mentions that there's the Freys have strung up a couple Lannisters and that they're dead and the crows are eating them currently. And so Robb thinks that's some good news because he's like, well, sweet, they're killing fucking Lannister men.
Yeah.
And his mother's like, or it might not even be his mother. It might have been one of the lords that were there.
Yeah.
But said that just because they're defending their home doesn't mean they're going to attack the Lannisters outright.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big difference.
Yeah, we learned that Brendan, the Blackfish, had crossed some swords with some Lannisters and killed a bunch of scouts of Tywin's. Adam Marbrand was commanding the Outriders and he's pulling back south, burning the land as he goes. But the Blackfish vowed that no one will know when Robb splits his army. So we're getting a lot in the background, the movements of the military, and that's kind of what I've been trying to keep an eye on.
Now, yeah, this is stuff that Tywin is unaware of
That's it. The killing, it says a dozen scouts were killed. That is essential. So this is where Tywin gets the misinformation, the no information that Robb splits his army, and Whispering Wood is about to occur, where Robb is taking the main force of his army, and he's going to get the jump on Tywin.
And so at this point, Tywin is aware that Edmure has been captured, which she doesn't know just yet. That's still not till the morning when Blackfish shows up. But I just think it's interesting to see that this is probably very similar time frame as that Tyrion chapter.
Yeah.
And so not much time, because we mentioned that from her last chapter with Tyrion, that not much time has passed. This is all going fairly quickly between these last few chapters.
Yeah, so Catelyn's worried. She says, Tywin won't know Robb splits his army unless Walder Frey tells him. So she tells Theon to tell Blackfish to bring down any raven that they see coming out of the castle. But Blackfish is already on that shit.
Yeah, and she's like, duh.
And so, the Blackfish also says that the water is, because she asks if it can be crossed anywhere else. And Theon says, the water's way too high and fast. Yeah,
and it can't be forded.
And so Robb starts getting pissed here. I must have that bridge. And Theon says, you can easily take the twins if you need to, Robb.
And Kat's like, no, not easily.
Not easily.
And
not in time.
And we'll get the reasons why when we actually see it here when they ride down. But the twins isn't, I fucking love the twins as a castle.
I really do
it's
too.
Such a badass.
But Catelyn, essentially, the gist of her argument is, while you mounted your siege, Lord Tywin would come up and shove his sword right in your bungholes.
Yo.
So,
boop, surprise.
So Robb looks from her to Theon, and Cat notices that he looks his years again, and he asks, what would my Lord Father do? And she answers, he would find a way across, whatever it took. And so the next morning, it was the Blackfish himself who rode back into camp, and his face is grim. Bad news.
Yeah, so he got from one of those.
Can we just say, I'm kind of blowing my own mind as I come up with this right now. His grim face just reminded me of Dark Wings, Dark Words, and fish scales. He's wearing a black cloak of the scaled, he's a black fish. Patch Face sings a song where the fish have scales and the birds swim up he's literally epitomizing Dark Wings, Dark Words right now.
Maybe that's the black fish that swims up that he's talking about is Blackfish here.
Yeah.
Patch Face.
Son of a bitch.
Dang.
We just made a fact. Don't fact check it.
Don't fact check any of us.
So, he says that there was a battle under River Run's walls, and the Kingslayer destroyed Edmure's host and sent the Lords of the Trident reeling. And it says a cold hand clutched at Catelyn's heart.
Catelyn, it's cold hands.
God damn it. I hate you. I hate you.
I noted down the cold hand as well. Just the clutching at the heart, and I think again it's that stone heart.
It's
cold
fucking
heart.
insane how much he beats it into your head.
Yeah,
this stone, this switching it off the emotions, this mask she puts on, it's just fucked. It's George R.R. Martin is doing things to my brain that I don't like. And she asks about Edmure. How is my brother? And
we find out that now they know that Jaime has taken him hostage, and that the Blackwoods, I believe,
Lord Blackwood
is holding and under siege in River Run for the time being.
Surrounded by
Jaime's forces are surrounded.
Yeah, so Robb says that they must cross the river if they even remotely hope to make it in time to relieve River Run. But the Blackfish says that the Freys have pulled all their strength back inside his castles, and the gates are closed and barred.
And this is where Robb, once again, shouts out he'll take the fucking twins then if he has to. I'll smash my way through.
You sound like a sulky boy, Robb. A lord must learn words. A lord must learn words can accomplish what swords cannot. So essentially stop bitching. Like, there, you can't siege this castle.
You're an emo kid, not conforming as can be.
Throwback. I was going to say Thursday, but it's not Thursday.
It's not Thursday.
And so Robb reddened, and again, at least Robb always has the decency to be shamed and to realize, like, I was being a little bitch. So he asks her, explain, please. And she says, for 600 years, the Freys have held the crossing, and for 600 years, they have never failed to exact their toll. And so Robb says, what toll? Like 25 cents? Like, we talking $1.70? What, can I get the flash pass? Like, we just going right through? Nah?
No fast lane?
Nah.
Dang. Can we carpool? We got enough people.
Yo, carpool lane. Anyway, he asks, what does he want? And Catelyn says, that is what we must find out.
And then she just bounces.
Well, he asks, what if I don't want to pay this toll? And she says,
then pack up your shit and go home.
Yeah, return to Moat Cailin, meet Lord Tywin in battle, or grow wings. I see no other choices. And she just, bye, deuces.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia.
Anyway,
so
it was almost noon, midday, when they came into sight of the twins.
Yeah. As she was riding off, she thought to herself, did you teach him wisdom as well as valor, Ned? Did you teach him how to kneel? And I think that's so important.
Well, especially after the chapter we just read,
that's
where
what
he's
I mean.
Being, like, forced to
admit to something he didn't do. Yeah, did you teach him how to eat his crow, essentially? Yeah. So midday, they came upon the twins, and their bridge was a massive arch, large enough for 2 wagons to ride abreast. The water tower rose from the center of the span with a stout timber keeps on either bank. But
the timber keeps have since been replaced with stone. And so now there are 2 identical castles,
the
keeps,
twins,
at either end of the bridge, with the water tower raising high in the middle. And they are just heavily fortified.
Yeah, each twin castle has high curtain walls, deep moats, heavy oak and iron gates protecting them. And one glance is all Catelyn needs to know that the castle will not be taken by storm.
And then it also has the water tower's defenses looking over all of it.
And spears, swords, and archers lining the wall. The drawbridge was up, portcullis was down, and the gates were closed and barred. That thing is sealed up tighter than a crab's buttocks.
That's a true story.
And so the Great John cursed when he saw it, and Lord Bolton whispered, "It cannot be assaulted." You're going to hate me
It cannot be assaulted is what he just said.
You're going to hate me for that.
Which is clearly obvious. That
not by siege, without an army on the far bank to occupy the other castle, Helman Tallheart added.
Yeah.
Because who the fuck is Helman Tallheart?
He's the Lord Tallheart.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
And of the Tallhearts?
What the hell, man? Helman Tallheart.
I got it.
As the lords watched, a sally port opened and a plank bridge extends across the moat, and a dozen knights rode forth to meet them.
Led by 4 of the 21 sons of Lord Walder Frey.
Carrying their banner, twin towers on a dark blue field of pale silvery gray.
And they are led by Lord Walder's son and heir, Stevron Frey. Stevron Frey.
Yeah, he was speaking for him. And Cat notes that all the Freys look like weasels.
I think that's the funniest shit. I never noticed that before, but now I
can't not picture
but
them.
Like that's how I pictured them.
That's
and I was
it
like,
too, yeah.
And like I never realized that she specifically mentions that, which is likely the reason.
Definitely like rodent but was how I pictured him, yeah.
Very I picture him as like an Walder Frey specifically like Wormtail.
Yeah.
After he's made all his transformations and is just fucking losing all his nasty hair.
But yeah, Sir Stevron was past 60 himself. Yeah, he's polite enough. And he says that, "My Lord Father has sent me to greet you and asks who leads this mighty host."
And Robb kicks forward on his little horsey there with Grey Wind padding up. I do. And I like this, but he looked at her son with a flicker of amusement. Which, it's good that it was only a flicker, because that's all it would take to set someone like Theon off.
Yeah.
But Robb is at least capable of looking past that. Great John too.
Yo, he's making motherfuckers kneel to this
Truth,
kid.
Yeah.
He's not even declared king in the North yet. So yeah, he says, my Lord Father would be honored if you would share meat and mead in the castle and explain your purpose here. We have not yet in this series been introduced to the concept of guest right. It comes up at Walder Frey. Like, that's when it, like, and it doesn't get explained in this chapter either.
Well, they don't the Dothraki do it? I thought in one chapter they mentioned them eating the food there. I'm pretty sure, I thought we even counted it at one point.
Mentioned, but not...
I mean, not specifically, like... Cause
yeah, we haven't seen an interaction of it where, like, somebody's like, come, share my meat and mead, like, break salt and bread with me, and you're safe under, guest right. Like, it's just, I zeroed in on it on this one, that, like, that is noted. Like,
here.
It's just, to me, it came off skeevy here, like, with these Freys and knowing them, and the fact that he just looked at Robb with a flicker of amusement, like, won't you come in and, like, you know, do the guest right thing for us? Like, that's our thing. But like, we want you to feel safe.
He called him forward and was only speaking to him. He was not inviting the host.
Well, yeah, no, it was just, that's what I mean, is like, oh yeah, we do the meat and mead thing. Like, we're not sketchy. It's like already being established type thing. Yeah. So he says, yeah, come in, share meat and mead in the castle and explain your purpose here. And not one of the Northern Lords are down with
Roose, Great John, they're losing their shit. They're like, no.
You must not do this, my lord. Walder is not to be trusted.
They're telling him to, well, no, how about you lower down your portcullis, raise the portcullis and lower the drawbridge, let us all in and share meat and mead. Or why don't you just send his old fucking ass out here and he can treat with Robb out here.
And I really like the gender reversal here, where normally... and, like, I'm going to get stereotypical, but women are described as, like, hens clucking and hen pecking, but it's Catelyn who's been silent this time, while the men are all fucking bickering about, we storm the castle, we'll fucking take it, and she's noticing Sir Stevron is getting pissed. Like, they're talking about his ancestral home, his Lord Father, like, you can't, like... fucking mind yourself, my lords. Like, and Catelyn is, and so it says she shares all their doubts, but she notices that Stevron's getting pissed, so she knew she had to act before he's like, nah, fuck this.
And so she steps forward and says, I'll go.
I will take it. I will take the ring to Mordor.
I volunteer.
I volunteer as tribute. She says, I will do it, and at first it's met with some...
But she explains to the High Lords, like, I've known him since I was a little girl.
She lies glibly.
Yeah.
Because she's pretty nervous about this.
And so she says, he's known me since I was a little girl. There's no way he would hurt me. That's bullshit. She hasn't, like,
well, unless she thinks it.
Unless it serves him a
Unless
purpose.
there's a profit in it, she thinks. Yeah, no, she's not dumb. She knows this is dangerous. Exactly. But, again, there was no choice. She was trapped. And if they were going to lose this opportunity... to go across this river, they need this, so like she's willing to put her life on the line, and there was really no choice, and so some truths did not bear saying, some lies were necessary, she thinks, when she says this, which it's just interesting with Jon Snow and how much she detests him because of Ned's lie, but doesn't understand that Ned thinks that's a necessary lie, and some truths are better left unsaid. But she said, Stevron says, I'm certain my father will be pleased to speak with you, Lady Catelyn.
Yeah, so he says that in good faith they will leave Sir Perwyn Frey.
Again, this is the first house that is doing these things.
Yeah.
That is assuring...
just to make sure that
we're trustworthy.
Hey, you know that you could trust us.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave him here to show you.
We're getting introduced to all these different concepts here, where like, take a hostage, take a family member, leave a family member type thing.
You actually are most likely right, because we haven't been in war yet long enough for these things to be...
Yeah, no, we haven't gone to other houses.
And so, yeah, they mentioned that the Starks always held a feast for each house. But,
yeah, but it's mainly to feast them.
And greet them.
It seems like celebration of like, hey, yo, what up, homies here?
Where they're specifically showing, George is using these to show the trust building.
I think you could be right, and there was something in Pentos that could have been mentioned about guest right, in like that sharing meat and mead offered you some sort of protection. But inherently with the Starks so far, it has not been said like at the feast we're sharing it for protection under our home. Like, so it's just the Freys are the first house that's beating in this guest right thing, and then the hostage prisoner exchange.
Collateral.
Yeah, the collateral, the insurance. And so, yeah, they agree that.
And so they get ready to leave. Robb tells Sir Stevron that he wants his mother back by Evenfall.
Yeah, your brother Sir Perwyn will be our honored guest, but I do require my mother back by Evenfall. I do not intend to linger here long, sir. And Stevron nods, and Cat rides forward, and the Frey envoys fall in around her like fucking locusts. Is all I could picture was just them chittering up behind her. And so it skips right in. We get the Lord of the Crossing greeted her in the great hall of the Eastern Castle.
And so it gives all the number of children he has.
Oh, I wrote it down.
Him. I have it as well.
Oh, you do? Word. Hell yeah, hit it.
He has 21 sons. One is out with the Robb host.
Yeah.
That's Perwyn. 36 grandsons.
Fuck.
19 great-grandsons. And numerous daughters, granddaughters, bastards, and grandbastards.
Lord Walder himself was 90. A wizened pink weasel with a bald spotted head, too gouty to stand unaided. I did not remember that fact, that he had gout as well, like Doran. And his newest wife, a pale, frail girl of 16, walked beside his litter as he was carried in, and she was the 8th Lady of Frey. Walder skips all the pleasantries and just asks why she is here and not Robb.
Yeah, like right out, he's cut. Like from all the descriptions we've gotten, he takes it on and is tenfold worse. Mm-hmm. Like he's like, "What the fuck are you doing here, bitch?"
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically how he greets
Cat
her.
had been a girl last she saw him, but he was blunt even then. Age seems to have made it worse, she thinks.
Yeah, and so his sons and bastards
Father
start calling, "You can't speak like that. What do you think?
This is a lady. How dare you?"
And so he goes off on them. Like, you shut the fuck up. You're a bastard. Why are you even opening your mouth? Like, sit the fuck down.
Yeah, I'm 90 years old. I'll speak as I please. So they seat him down in the high seat of the Frey, which is made of carved with 2 towers, which I just think is a sweet chair. And he beckons Cat over, kisses her hand, and then tells his sons to shut the fuck up.
A dry, papery kiss.
There, I've seen to the pleasantries. Are you all satisfied now?
Now what the fuck do you want?
Pretty much.
And Cat tells him they want passage for Robb and his Bannermen to cross his little bridgey.
To River Run.
So I really...
To River Run.
I really enjoy I don't know if you've thought about it, but the troll, the troll that lives under the bridge.
Yeah, you gotta pay the toll.
Like,
yeah.
And how much, like, he's such a trolly
he's a troll,
character.
Yeah.
Like,
he's a gross, pink, spotted, weaselly looking motherfucker. With, like, I just picture, like, little tiny little wisps of, like, white hair that, like, you know, he's gross.
Goblinoid
he's physically
almost.
Gross looking, and then his mannerisms, his his pervertedness toward his wives being very young. Like,
well, because he even makes a little comment about Cat right here, where because she asks for privacy.
Well, that's in a bit, because she confirms to River Run and says, "Where I would expect to find you. You are my Lord Father's Bannerman, are you not?" And he laughs/grunts, and he says, "You've seen my swords. I called them. It was my intent to march. It's not my fault your fool brother lost his battle before we could march."
Which, you know, technically, had the Bannermen taken that long to gather, that's a valid argument.
No, it's bullshit.
But obviously, it's complete horseshit.
It's said the Kingslayer went through him like an axe through cheese. Why should I hurry my boys south to die?
Cat wants to just fucking kill this son of a bitch right here.
So this is when she asks to speak in private. May we speak privately? And we're speaking now.
But this is where he makes a come on to Cat, where he's like, oh, Lady Stark maybe wants to come and have a little Walder lap time.
Yeah.
But
he kicks everyone out.
Yeah, tells them to get the fuck out.
And then, yeah, he essentially is giving a little narrative on each of his sons, and he says they're all waiting for me to die. He tells Catelyn as they leave, and they kind of go back and forth about, oh, I hope you live long and prosper, essentially. Yeah. And he's like,
he did the Vulcan hand thing there, just to make sure you all know, because they
have
can't
to.
That.
And yeah, he says essentially that he hopes he lives just to piss them all off, and then mentions his wife and her honey's all his. And I have to just mention the show because fucking, and his name is escaping me, but David Finch? Is it David Finch?
I don't know.
The actor who played Walder Frey in the show fucking killed it.
Yeah, he was very good.
Because I just, especially with that line, like, and her honey's all mine. Like, I just always remember that line from him, and it was so, like, skin crawling.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so he asks, what you want again?
And she, to cross. And he's like, oh.
Do you?
All right, then.
That's blunt. Why should I let you? And she gets pissed.
She tries scare tactics.
Yeah.
And so she, look out your window, Lord Frey. Robb has 20,000 armed men outside.
She says if you could climb your own walls, which, like, yuck. And then he responds, 20,000 corpses when Lord Tywin gets here. Don't try to frighten me, my lady. Your husband sits in a traitor's cell under the Red Keep. Your father's sick, might be dying, and Jaime Lannister's got your brother in chains. Who should I fear? That son of yours? I'll match your son. Match you son for son, and still have 18 when all yours are dead. And Jesus, like...
Yeah, like... He gets fucking brutal.
And Cat just responds with, you swore an oath to my father, though, dude.
And he makes another great fucking loophole statement, like, I swore oaths to the crown as well, and Joffrey sits the throne. Like, fuck, Cat, what do you...
Way I see it, that makes you and your boy and all those fools out there no better than rebels. If I had any sense... I'd help the Lannisters boil you all.
Why don't you then? Is all Cat asks.
And we get, I think, the truest part of Lord Walder.
I agree.
He snorts with disdain. Tywin the proud and splendid, warden of the West. Oh, what a great man that one is, with his gold this and gold that. What's he got to be so puffed up about? Only 2 sons, one a twisted little monster. I'll match him son for son, and I'll still have 19 and a half left. If Tywin wants my help, he can bloody well ask for it.
And that's the key.
That was all Cat needed to hear.
And so she says, I'm asking you, Lord Walder.
Humbly, yeah.
What can I fucking do to get you?
My father, brother, lord husband, and son ask with my voice as well. And he says, save your sweet words. Get those enough from my wife. See her? Gross. And then he goes on a little bit. Wager she gives me a son by next year. And she says, I'm certain you'll have many sons. Which, God, like, Cat just kills it here. Keeping that composure and that. Right. And, like, Sansa, like that, a lady's courtesy.
And Sansa,
like a lady must remember her courtesies.
And Sansa puts those two together constantly with my mother's strength, the strength of my mother. I wanted to mention that he's pushing right now, even hinting at what he's going to be proposing to her when it cuts away. Because it does just cut away. We don't get to see the actual... Yeah. It just says the rest of it was just... the rest was only haggling.
We're not there yet.
I know, but I'm just saying... He's mentioning, my wife and having kids and these kids, and then he kind of starts leading into your father's always shit on me.
He didn't come to my wedding.
The last one either, the one before that. Yeah. And you guys have always thought of us as a
late
joke.
Lord Frey. Yeah. I'll outlive them all. Yeah. He's starting to hint at, he even denied a match between Edmure and one of my daughters.
And he would have let him pick. The prettiest one.
Lord Hoster wouldn't have heard it. He gave me sweet excuses, but I wanted to be rid of a daughter.
Yeah.
And your sister, a year ago.
Yeah.
Jon Arryn was still a hand. I went to see my sons ride in the tourney, Danwell, Holstein, and Perwyn. If I knew the shame they would bring me, I would have stayed home.
Yeah, so he kind of talks some shit about
my
Loras.
Third hall was a Cray Hall, and all Cray Hall women are sluts. Fucking, who is this guy? What the fuck? Never mind your sister I was talking about. I propose they foster 2 of my grandsons at court, and I foster their boy here, but Lord Arryn wouldn't have it, him or the other one.
Yeah, and so then
And I blame your sister for that.
We learn that even Lord Frey knows that, because Jon Arryn said, I'm sorry, but we're already fostering him with Lord Stannis at Dragonstone.
And that was when Lysa stormed off.
Got pissed.
So we're getting a lot in this story.
Yes.
We're getting the fact that Lysa is very pissed at Jon Arryn trying to take her boy away.
Yeah.
Which is key for Littlefinger slipping in there. Literally, like, slipping it in there.
Slipping into DMs.
I'm going to scream when my husband makes love to me.
Yeah.
They'll hear me clear across the narrow sea. And so we get the discrepancy in Jon Arryn and Lysa Arryn's marriage, and then we also get the significance of this lie that's been going about Robert and where he was going. And so Cat frowns and says, I understood that Lysa's boy was to be fostered with Lord Tywin at Casterly Rock.
And so Walder Frey uses this as an excuse to get pissed off again. Are you calling me old? I can't tell the difference between Tywin and Stannis. They're both... Go ahead, go.
They're both bungholes, but I know the difference. I love that word. It gets used in this book a lot. I love it.
That's good.
So it said that Cat asks him again, Jon Arryn meant to foster the boys at Dragonstone. Are you certain? Yes. You say you want to cross. And the conversation shifts back. And he asks, why should I? Tully's, Starks, they've never been friends of mine. And he kind of reels back waiting for her answer. So at this point, he's laid it out. And he's laid it out fully what he wants, if you can piece it together.
Yeah.
He wants someone to marry his daughter.
He wants some of his kids fostered.
Yeah, he wants to get rid of children, essentially.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Fuck, I lost my place in my notes.
So that's...
The rest was only haggling, yeah.
And then as the sun's setting...
A swollen red sun hung low.
Yeah. Now, we have mentioned over and over that red overcast of the Cersei presence, the Lannister presence, and right now as she's riding out after having made this deal. The swollen
stuck out to me, like, because I immediately think of, like, a wound. Like a fresh...
Festering.
A fresh, swollen wound that, like, this isn't going to heal type thing. So... Yeah, I just thought that was significant. The drawbridge dropped and Cat made to rejoin her son. Behind her came Sir Jared Frey, Hosteen Danwell, and Walder's bastard Ronald Rivers, leading a column of pikemen. And so Robb rode out to meet her with Grey Wind. It's done, she told him. Lord Walder will grant you your crossing, and his swords are yours, less 400 to stay here. I suggest you leave another 400 with a commander you can trust. Walder may need help keeping faith. Which is prudent as fuck.
Yes, yeah. Now he appoints. I didn't even write his name.
Oh, I don't think did. He appoint him then and there?
Well, he said that he had chosen a guy to command that to stay back.
Oh, word.
It's in there.
I didn't know the name either. I just said he said as you say, mother.
No, he definitely did, in mine anyway, unless you've got a different one. It should be here, I think. As you say, mother. Perhaps Sir Helman Tallheart.
Oh, what the hell,
Helman!
Fucking mayonnaise is going to stay at fucking
So Tallheart. I knew I recognized his name. I'm just calling him mayonnaise there, see? On. So that's why he's special. Right. I almost called him mayonnaise earlier. I'm glad you're calling him. So Sir Mayo is going to stay back and command the 400 forces that Robb leaves behind to help
Catelyn agrees, a fine choice.
Yes.
And she asks, and Robb asks, well, what do they want? What was the toll?
Yeah. So this is where we learn the full effects of what she has given him.
And I think we start with the worst one first.
Arya being?
No, he demands an escort for 2 grandsons north to Winterfell to be taken as wards, both named Walder. Bran should welcome the companionship. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will soon be introduced to Big Walder and Little Walder. And I hate these fucking kids.
They're cunts. And Bran hates
them.
And I hate them. And you hate them. And they are cunts.
And so I completely forgot all about these little stupid fucks until I read this part. And then I remembered that Bran has to deal with them for a while at Winterfell.
Yep.
And I'm upset.
Yeah, they're cunts.
But Robb asks, is that all? And she goes on and says, Sir Walder's son, Sir Olvar, will serve as your personal squire, with a knighthood expected in due time. And Robb says, fine.
And then your little sister Arya will be marrying a Frey. I don't know if it said which one.
Yes, Walder's youngest, Sir Elmar.
Sir Elmar. And even Robb says she will not be happy about that.
Like, I cringed.
Yeah, that's... yeah, fuck, man. Could you imagine how
this
miserable
little girl
she'd make
is
his life?
Purely just words on paper, and I cringed at her reaction to her being told she has to marry a Frey boy.
Right?
Like, Jesus.
A fat, soft, weasel-faced kid.
That's it. I mean, her being told she has to marry anyone, but I imagine the Freys just so much worse.
Right.
And so he says, Arya won't like that, and there's still more.
There's more. You will be marrying one of his daughters. Now, what I put here as a note is the Bachelor Winterfell edition, because he gets to have his choice of bitches. That's fucked up. I think that's absolutely... You can pick whichever one you think is the hottest. And so, Robb is going to be the guy that, had he moved forward with it, he would have gone through and gotten to know each one to see which one he's... And so it would have been Bachelor, and he would be giving them like a
Lord
winter
Waldina,
rose.
Will you accept this rose? I will.
Too bad. It's going to your sister, bitch.
Promise me, Robb.
Yeah.
And so, to his credit, Robb does not flinch. And the marriage is to happen when the fighting is done, which is important to know. But to his credit, Robb did not flinch. I see. And Catelyn asks, do you consent?
Do I have a choice?
Not if you wish to cross.
Then I consent.
And it said, he said this, never seeming more a man to her than he did in this moment.
So I think that's significant. Again, I mentioned at the beginning of the chapter, this is the specific moment I was referring to where we're losing Ned, and we're supposed to be building up Robb and gaining Robb, which is going to be out. This, I think, is very important to how fucked up we feel when George comes in and murders our souls with the Red Wedding, is because of seeing this development into this man, where he's going from boy, where we first saw him, fucking around with Theon and the puppies and doing shit like that at the beginning of the book. We're already at the end. It's just one book, and he's already, I
mean, in this one chapter alone, he was referenced as a boy. You're acting like a sulky boy, Robb, and now he's never seemed more a man. It's
within that
growth,
exactly. And then to have it right after Ned's chapter there, and to be, I think it's outstanding.
So they crossed at evenfall. Like a great steel snake, Catelyn at the head of the serpent with her son, her uncle, and Sir Stevron Frey, and it took hours for the men to cross. The larger part of the host remained on the east bank under command of Roose Bolton. Robb had commanded him to continue south to confront the Lannister army coming north under Tywin, which in Tyrion's last chapter, we got wind of them marching, which Tywin believes is Robb leading.
Exactly.
For good or for ill, her son had thrown the dice.
And so now here's the funny thing is that we now have the people that the trust is in so heavily right now for Robb, Roose Bolton, Walder Frey.
Yeah.
One is commanding his host, one is expected to keep a secret while they sneak around and handle this. And technically, they play their parts. So, the fact that they go then and switch to the Lannister side, and the Lannisters are willing to accept them, it's fucking insane.
I also thought it was interesting, just in the theme that we've been on kind of lately, with the Not So Silent Sisters help a lot, is the colors. There's a lot of gray in this chapter,
Lots
too.
Of it.
And I think that's meant to be Walder Frey as this gray character, because he's disgusting, and he's reprehensible, but...
He's vengeful.
I don't inherently think Walder Frey is a bad guy. I just think he's vindictive. He's petty. Yeah, he's petty. He's not a great person, but he's not Tywin Lannister evil. Like, I would definitely say he's one of the milder, because he's just petty. He's just a petty.
He's just a shitty dude.
That's it. Like, he's creepy with the women, but unfortunately, that's fine in this society. So, like,
no, it's not where he's evil. He's just a gross, bad
fucker.
He's just a gross person that makes shit decisions.
And so I think the gray surrounding is also the gray of this decision. Like, there's a lot of choices made in this one of whether or not to storm the castle, to treat with him.
Well, even him, with whether to let you cross, not cross. Should I call Tywin and tell him you're here? Should I do this? And
then
that?
We get other choices of, should we foster Robb and Aaron at Casterly Rock or Dragonstone? Yeah, so there's all these different choices being made, and a lot of gray color, which I think is significant in saying that, especially with this last line here, for good or ill, her son had thrown the dice, where at this point it could go any way. We got fucking one of the, especially right now, because like they kind of haven't had their turn right now. So Roose Bolton, a very gray character at this point, I would say. Yeah. Walder Frey, until that twist.
Yeah,
when
then they're still gray.
So as of right now, like, I associate gray with mist. And like mist, if you've ever read One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, mist is meant to represent like blindness and not being able to see the things that are right in front of you. So I just thought with all the gray, there was a lot of like representation of just a veiled motives of what people are actually up to.
No, absolutely.
And Catelyn is trying to be aware of that, but
and I think it's really cool though, because like you had mentioned, they are also at the forefront of pushing these trust me schemes.
Yeah.
Trust us. We're leaving back a guy. Trust us. You're eating our food and drinks. Trust us. But really, these are some of the worst situations. These shadiest schemers right here.
Yeah, no, this deal isn't inherently terrible now until Robb breaks reneges. And so, that's it. You're kind of making a deal with the devil. Then that's why it's justified. Gray. Yeah.
Is what
obviously the Red Wedding isn't justification for Robb's betrayal there, but to Walder Frey it is. So we're gonna stop babbling. That was the end of the chapter. We've got some inductees. You got an inductee? I've got an inductee.
You go first. I'll go first. Okay. I'm going with Sir Mayonnaise Tallheart. Sir Mayo's gonna join us this week. I'll
be very super interested to see, like, to keep an eye on Sir Mayonnaise and see if there's any.
Tallheart's gonna be cool.
See if there's any flip-floppiness.
Yeah, where he lies, where we see him, if we see him anymore, or if it's just going to be an off-page death, or what happens. But yeah, so we're going to get Tallheart in here for inductee this episode, this chapter.
Did you give your reason why, or did I cut that off?
No, that's because he's fucking Sir Mayo. He's a badass, apparently, cool. And so I'm going to have him. That, and because he's trustworthy enough to command the 400 hosts to keep Walder Frey's faith, make sure he's not.
Yeah.
So they've got some trust in him to leave him behind. So
I like it.
I like Tallheart now.
Mine is, I was going to give it to Walder Frey, but I can't bring myself to. So I'm going to actually give it to Roose Bolton in this chapter. Because even when I was reading this, like, in my mind's eye, the picture of like them all gathered on the bank of this.
The castle is keeping itself. I don't know. I'm just whispering stuff like Roose Bolton would, because it's gonna be creepy.
You scared me.
Yeah, I guess so. See, it works.
But in my mind's eye, when I was reading this, and I like all the Northern Lords gathered on the bank discussing it, in my mind's eye, even like it was a show, I was keeping my fucking eye on Roose Bolton, like while I'm reading, like, and then when he speaks, like, it's just so. I don't know, man. There's just something hauntingly.
He's like salad fingers.
Yeah, it's so drawing. Whenever his name is mentioned, for me, it like stands out on the page, even in my own notes.
That's because he's an immortal vampire.
Like, goes to it. Fucking stop it. Roose Bolton is just a brilliantly written character.
Bolton.
That's the dumbest name for a theory. I'm sorry if you wrote that theory, but. Then fucking stupid. Fucking stupid. Anyway, that's my inductee.
That's a good inductee.
Roose Bolton for just keeping my attention. And now we'll go to Julian's inductee. He was.
That's not his inductee.
That's not his inductee. He also thought that this was a very interesting chapter because of the choices and the character is influencing Kat's decision and says, yet his inductee is going to be a present character that he totally rediscovered rereading A Game of Thrones compared to the show. Oh, not reading A Game of Thrones compared to the show, and it's the Blackfish.
Yes.
He loves the character. It seems like he's handsome, respected, smart, and talented warrior, and he can't wait to see him evolve in the books and see him defend Riverrun to the death. Will be way more satisfying in the books, as we didn't really know him in the show.
Holy fuck, are you in for it, Julian?
Valor Doharius, Julian, I'm going to say something right now that we're breaking form here. We are not going to be full spoiler for you on that.
Yeah, I decided that too.
Because
goddamn,
that's one of the better storylines from book to show. The changes are great, so I'm excited for you to read that. You definitely have to let us know your thoughts once you do.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure you're ahead in the books anyway.
Yeah.
So hopefully you'll
love it. You're gonna love the
so
Blackfish. He only gets better. So. Thank you for your writing in. Your inductee was great.
Great fucking
Blackfish
inductee.
Is always welcome in the Brotherhood.
I'm jealous I didn't pick the Blackfish now. Good. That was a good.
We got a good run of the mill.
That's all right. I got Sir
Blackfish's dark wings, dark words.
I bet Sir Mayo makes a hell of a sandwich.
Dark wing duck. When there's trouble, you call BFW. Blackfish duck wing. Blackfish wing.
Sure. Anyway, I kicked the table
this
time. If you would like to send in an inductee.
This ending is falling apart.
It's falling apart quick.
We got to wrap it up.
You can hit us on our socials. We have our email, which is most important and not a social, but it's still how you can contact us. Without Manners, brotherhood@gmail.com. I'm on Twitter @MannersWithout. I'm on Instagram @MannersWithout. Zach also is on that Instagram. Zach is on Twitter @Carstark92. We are on Facebook. Facebook.com/Brotherhood Podcast.
Hey.
And then finally, Patreon. Patreon.com/Without Manners. You can find our special episodes right now. We have Mercy and Theon sample chapters from Winds of Winter. Next coming up will be the Victarion. And it's going to be good. But in the meantime, if you have inductees for this chapter or any of our future chapters, we will be reading John 8.
John 8.
And then after John 8 will be Danny 7. So
we, at this point, as we're getting closer to the end of A Game of Thrones, I went through and just wanted to check and see different chapters, and I realized that the Stark children all only have one chapter left besides Jon himself. All the rest have multiple chapters, but so the next Arya, Sansa, and Bran chapters, which are coming up, not next week, not next episode, but in a few, those will be their last. Of course, we'll announce that obviously as it gets closer as well. But so those, we just think that there's significance in the way they end the last chapter for each character in the book.
And since we just did Ned's last one last episode, and now we're approaching a few others, we just thought we'd mention that as well.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, write into us. Let us know your thoughts and feelings. Maybe
and
not
check
your
out
feelings,
well, as of the date of this recording, the Emmys are airing tomorrow. Not that Nate and I are really into award shows, but Game of Thrones for the last season has fucking been nominated like 31 times.
Technically, when this airs, we'll know who the winners are, but we're not up on date enough to where
they're poised to shatter some records of the most awards won, which would be pretty cool.
For a single season.
Even just mainly, I'm just interested in the actor categories where the leading supporting actresses. There's 4. There's Lena Headey, Gwendolyn, Sophie, and Maisie, and that's just amazing. Any one of those who win, and then Nikolai Coster-Waldau, Peter Dinklage, and Alfie Allen are nominated for supporting actors.
Real quick before we sign off for the episode, predictions, because it's coming out and it'll be out by the time this is done.
All right. I think Jon.
We're only gonna do supporting.
You're only doing those?
Yeah, because we don't know who the.
Well, I would claim that I'm gonna make a bold claim. I think Kit Harington is gonna win lead actor, and I think Amelia's gonna not take it. I think Alfie Allen's gonna take supporting, and I think Maisie's taking it. Fuck it, I'm going for it.
All right, I'm gonna go with Gwendolyn.
Yeah,
it's gonna take it.
That's a safe one.
It's. I just feel
she killed it.
I know
she killed it.
And technically, any of the 4 could take it. Depending on your point of view.
Deserve it.
Exactly. And then for the actors, See, this one's tough because I hated Theon forever in both the book and the show.
That's the point of the character.
But goddamn, Alfie
nailed it. Yeah.
Killed it, man.
He made you hate him more.
And as much as I Nikolai Walter Costa is a dear.
He's a dream.
He's a wonderful person.
And Peter Dinklage,
absolutely great. Alfie deserves it, and so I think Alfie.
I hope he takes it.
I almost think that they may give it to Dinklage.
Wow,
but
you say that was like so sadly.
Well, because I
think in terms of the final season, Alfie deserves it.
I agree. I think Alfie did.
Yeah, I agree.
But anyway, not that we give a shit about award shows. Sorry, Valor de Harris.
Peace.